particular tips and how you need to prepare, and even positioning. I like actually the word about positioning, because life is about positioning yourself. It's not even waiting, because you actually own your career. Don't always relegate your careers to someone else. Own it completely, and keep on changing it, shape it. And that's why all of you are here today for us even to share the tips that we have. I'll start by just talking a little bit about that. So the purpose of this session today is to help you get some tips and the strategies to position yourself in the NGO world. And also give you a few examples of some of the career sites. And we are happy that at least we are in the digital space where we are able to get information quickly. So, I think I don't want to take for granted that people know perhaps what NGOs world are. So I'll just give you a little bit of an overview about the NGO. So NGO, non-governmental organizations, are not related to the government. They may engage with the government, but they actually operate independently. So they are non-profit making organizations. So they channel their own resources actually to ensure that they engage the communities and they make impact in the societies. And they're always driven by a particular cause, whether it's environmental, whether it's health, whether it's alleviation of poverty, a particular cause, whether it's something about women, it's about children. And you realize some of these organizations were started many years ago, and someone or a founder saw something in the society, and a group of people always will come together and start that. You'll be surprised to know that some of the big organizations that you see today were started by just a bunch of people, few people who were like agitated. There was like, this cannot continue. We need to do something in the society. And they were able to now to come together and come up with an organization. And some of these organizations actually were started many years ago, and they started with few people, and now some of them are looking quite big. And they started in one country, but they moved to the rest of the world. So the non-governmental organization really play such a big role in the society. They complement what the government is doing. They are not rivaling the government. And sometimes they have to come and lobby. They have to come and point out some of the issues that the government needs to do. Or they have to come and tell the government, you know what, let's partner, let's work together. But the most important thing that is that they are actually independent, and they advocate for issues like, for instance, on the human rights. I think you've seen some of the areas that some of the NGOs have been taking, and some of them on human rights, like on environment. In case you look at my background, I value so much issues to do with the environment, whether it's about planting trees, whether it's advocating for the environment, whether it's even teaching people on the importance of environment. And with time, one of the things that I've always advocated for people, just don't get stuck in the normal routine of things. Dare to do something which is different. And in case you look at my profile, I have not always concentrated myself on the human resources. In fact, human resources came much later. I've done a couple of things. I've been involved myself in marketing, in fundraising. Currently, I'm not a medic, but I'm actually involved myself in addressing issues to do with children, and especially issues to do with heart diseases. I work with the doctors in volunteering on this. So it's always very important to go and do something which is very, very different. Make your hobbies to be your passion. Those particular hobbies actually can translate into the next big thing. And that's why one of the things that I have even enrolled myself to do is even things to do with Kenya Horticulture Society. I'm a member of that because I love gardening. I love issues to do with the environment. That actually gives me an extra thing that I need to do. And it defines my purpose of life. It makes actually like fun and enjoyable when you have different conversation with the same people, so that you don't have to get stuck with the same profession. Dare to be diverse in what actually you do. And NGOs actually bring these particular courses to people so that actually they can actually get involved in the society, and they can actually shape conversations in their societies in different countries, and also with different people. So that's actually more about the overview of what is called actually the non-governmental organization. So in as much as they're independent, but also there's collaboration, there's in partnership, because also you can actually be in silos. You need to work with different people. So some of the key characteristics of non-governmental organizations, sometimes we see them, and it's very important just to highlight them, would be their non-profit making. They don't make profits. So the money which comes from the donors And these particular donors are individuals. They could be corporate sponsors, actually are all channeled to various communities or to the organization to help in terms of advancing the cause. Remember, I talked about NGOs have to advance certain causes, whether it's environmental, issues to do with gender, issues to do with children, issues to do with elevation of poverty, issues to do just with the impact, or issues to do with social justice in the society. And they're actually independent in nature. I think I've talked just about that. They're also mission driven, that's why you always find there's a mission or a vision, and they are guided by a specific mission, and that becomes their guiding principle. Whatever they do is about children. For instance, in case you're talking about SOS, it's about talking about neglecting children, ensuring that children actually are given the necessary parental love, having people around that. Whether you're talking about environment, there has to be a particular mission, so that also you're not jumbled up and doing things which are not so much related to each other. There's also something to do with awareness, education, advocacy, engaging with people, engaging with the communities. More than ever, actually, NGOs now are thinking about sustainability. They will do a particular
Did we lose Paul, or is it on my end?
We must have lost
We've lost him.
Okay.
We've lost him.
Okay, I'll get
Yeah,
him.
we've lost him.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back. Yes, you're back, Paul. Hi, Paul.
Hello, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Paul. Continue.
Sorry, I lost electricity
Sorry for that.
for a
That's
minute.
okay. That's okay. You can continue. You can share again.
Just share.
Thank you.
Just checking whether you can hear me now.
Yes, we can, and your screen is up. You can continue.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think I was just talking about awareness, education, on the key characteristics of the NGO. There's also issues to do with, of course, funding. They rely on individuals. They actually rely on a group of philanthropists. They also rely on corporate sponsorship. So I'm even actually talking to potential donors, and I'm sure in your own way you've been able to donate to various causes, either in Kenya or just globally. You'll always see NGOs sometimes coming to appeal for funding. That extra coin that you give them, the 5 shillings, the 10 shillings, the 50 shillings, the 100 shillings that you give them, go a such a long way in helping the societies. There is also actually a lot of voluntary participation. And I think that's one of the things I'll be talking about. It's also involved volunteers. I was just talking to Esther about this particular course that she's doing. And she has also a group of people. And that's why even we are gathered here today. If we didn't have a group of volunteers to help her doing all this, then it would not have shaped to where we are and what it is at the moment. So NGOs also so much rely on volunteers. Indeed, some of the organization NGOs, you find actually there are more volunteers than even the employees. And later on, you realize that these volunteers now find a pipeline now to go to these particular organizations as employees later on. And finally, in terms of the key characteristics is that we have local NGOs and also we have international NGOs. Some of the current international NGOs started locally, and then they started expanding to some of the countries, and later on they became global organizations. So in terms of how they are reached, it starts small, and then it becomes quite global. You may see some of the NGOs even in Kenya, but they're actually stretched in different parts of the world. I'll now move swiftly to, then what are the tips if you want to join the NGO world? What do you need to do? First of all, you need to identify your passion. What are you passionate about? You need to determine the cause of the issue that you are most passionate about. Is it about environment? Is it about health? Is it about children? Is it about, for instance, impact in the society? Is it about social justice in the society? Is it about accountability? Is it about governance? Is it about conflict resolutions? You realize that I've already enrolled for a course in mediation and conflict, because I have an interest in, especially in issues with mediation. You need to identify something you are very passionate about. That should be one of the steps that you need to identify. Then later on, you also need to research about the NGO. So you need actually also to explore the different NGOs in your area of interest. Where are they? And it's easy nowadays because you just need to Google. You need to look for them in a particular search engines. And you need to look at the missions. What do they stand for? Because it's also very important to ensure that they also align with your values. For instance, one of the things that I truly value is issues to do with diversity and inclusion, issues to do with integrity, accountability, on governance. So when I look around, for instance, at my next thing, I look at the organizations also which are aligned with my values and also with some of the things that I really care about. So it's very important actually to research. I think we are living at a very good time now that this is actually available on internet. So easily, actually, you can actually do this particular research. These organizations, actually, the good thing about it is that they actually put their reports there, annual reports, their budgets. So you can actually read so much about an organization. Always go to a particular organization that perhaps you've heard about, go, Google it, and you can actually read even their annual reports. So by doing that particular research, then you'll know so much about it. And then when you are actually thinking about, I think I need to join there, then it can actually align with your values and also with the principles that actually you consider so dear. Then the other thing which is quite important is gaining the relevant skills and knowledge. Always identify the skills which are required in your chosen field. For instance, it's about project. Ask yourself, do you have project management skills? If you don't have, the good thing about it nowadays, this is actually available even online. We have some credible institutions that you actually can go and gain those particular skills. You need to be ready for that particular market so that when there's a call to join that particular organization, either as a volunteer or an employee, then you can say you have these particular project management skills. So the need actually even to do your research to know exactly what is the mission and the vision of these particular NGOs. If it's about grant writing, if it's about fundraising, you need to identify them and look for opportunities to go there. And I think we are actually living at a very interesting times that you can actually get these particular skills even online, and you don't even sometimes need to go for online courses. In-person courses. If you're working, for instance, for an organization and you want to go to the NGO, look around your organization. Or even if you want to shift to another NGO, look at what you are lacking in terms of the skills and identify a particular department and identify a particular individual that you can actually go to in terms of either job rotation or job shadowing, so that actually can even start now practically learn those particular skills so that also you are ready. Always on your career, always be ready. Expose yourself to these particular skills so that by the time you're called for the interviews, then you have these particular skills going forward. The other thing which is quite important is also to network and build your connections. Find moments like this one to attend conferences, either online or in person. Go for seminars, go for workshops, go for networking sessions. Those things that you always see on WhatsApp, please go for them. You never know who you're going to meet in those particular networking sessions. You never know what you're going to learn, which will take you to the next thing. Dare to be different. Go to those particular seminars. Even if it's something to pay something, please pay. Investing in those particular conferences is so important. And building your network and investing in your relationships is what actually is going to lead you to the next big thing. Also engage in online communities. There's so many online communities. Like I think Esther was talking about where we are speaking, especially internationally. It's actually an online community, and you can actually get in, especially on LinkedIn. One of the things as professionals that you need to be very worried about is that if, for instance, you don't exist on LinkedIn, you don't post on LinkedIn, you have not packaged yourself, for instance, on LinkedIn as a professional, you don't exist, because that's where you actually find your community. So one of the things that I would like to let you know is that it's very important as you walk out even from this conversation, for those who have not packaged it, go and look at your LinkedIn. There are quite a number of people, especially the people who write CVs. Esther, I think, is one of them. Get in touch with these particular people who actually can help you to package you. Package your CV, package your LinkedIn, so that actually also you are known. The biggest actually community you can actually have nowadays is online. The next thing now, you can actually meet in person. Seek for mentorship. Very, very, very important to seek for mentorship opportunity and participate in collaborative initiative. Esther and I mentor each other, and I know also we have Esther Mutio in this particular call. Look out for those particular people. Approach them, talk to them, approach them even online. Identify even, for instance, in case they're working within the NGO, and it could be an area of interest that you have, and say, I have been seeing you posting on a couple of things. I would like to approach you because I want to learn more. Be bold to actually meet people. And that's why when you go for these particular networking sessions, you're likely to meet these particular influencers. And nowadays, the concept of mentoring is changing. It doesn't really have to be somebody who is older than you are or more experienced. It has to be somebody who can walk the journey with you, somebody actually who can add value with you. It could be something on the area of grant writing. It could be on the area of fundraising. It could be on the area of project management. And you can be surrounded by more than one mentor. It doesn't have to be only one particular mentor. It could be actually several mentors who can help you in terms of accelerating your path going forward. And especially in case you have identified a particular area. And you can see the importance of doing your research and identifying your passion. Once you do that, you can now align it even with the mentoring opportunities. The other thing is gaining practical experience. In fact, 70% of our learning comes from what we do practically. And this is actually, you gain it by volunteering. And I know this is I remember the story I told you about. I started by volunteering without being paid. One of the things that I always actually tell people is that it's very, very important to volunteer because you learn something different. And at the same time, you can even carve out your own role when you volunteer. And then you meet actually your next employer. You meet the influencers during the volunteering session. You come with something new. People see you. You elevate your status. You share your knowledge during that particular time. So there, actually go for those particular volunteering sessions. Be an intern. Don't look at the money. The money will come later. And that money will come in turns later. Build your brand. And you build your brand by starting from scratch. Build your foundation by being a volunteer. Look out for those particular opportunities that the volunteer is, and I'll be talking about it pretty soon on where you can actually start by volunteering, because that's all actually available using the search engines. It's also available when especially you are networking, you are attending the seminars, you are likely to find someone. And you don't have necessarily to volunteer when you're starting your job in the NGO. You could still be working within a particular organization, and you can say, I want to volunteer in the environmental sector. I want to find organizations which you have identified the particular passion. So you could be working in the bank, you could be working in the media, you could be working in the technology industry, but you say, in the next couple of years, in the next couple of months, I want to enter into the NGO world. So by volunteering in a particular course or in a particular organization, like for instance, some of the things I do, then you attract the next big role. Remember, you own your career. By owning your career, then you need to shape your conversations. You need to join the right kind of connections and the seminars. That's where you're going to find the person and the people who will be looking for the volunteers. And it's okay even to be upfront to ask as you go for those particular occasions, I would like to volunteer. In most cases, sometimes don't say, I just want to work there. You can say, can I volunteer? That actually can bring a spark of interest and enthusiasm by the people that you're connecting with. So volunteering will make you to get the practical experience in that particular sector and in that particular organization. And then develop the language. One of the things which is happening in the NGO world is the importance of being bilingual. If you've been having an interest in French, in Spanish, or even in Arabic, even in Chinese, please develop that. There are people who are very skilled, and there are people who are multilingual. Develop a particular language. You may have your master's and you may have your first degree, you may have your diploma. That extra language, international language, will give you an advantage. Increasingly, actually nowadays, people are looking for fluency in French, in Spanish, or another international language, because the NGOs are working in different contexts. They're working in different countries. They're in multicultural environment. So one of the things that I would like actually to advise, dare to be diverse. Don't only hang around with people who are in your industry. Don't hang around with people from your own ethnic community. Be diverse. Start picking different cultural context. Start to ensure that you embrace what is called cultural fluency. Understand other cultures. Start picking a particular language. That actually can take you to the next level. And once you study that particular language, practice by speaking it. Get a community where people are speaking that particular language. The extra international language can take you now to the next level. NGOs are thriving more on different contexts, different countries. And you don't have necessarily even to work in your own country. You can actually work in the different countries that actually you go to. Stay informed and engaged. Get updated on current trends, what is happening in the health sector, what's happening in the environmental sectors. For instance, what is happening in the Congo Basin, in the Amazon Basin, what's happening in terms of the forest covers just around the world. If it's in the health sector, what is just happening there? Get information, get publications, read. The good thing about it is that this information actually is available nowadays, because organization actually put it actually online for people to read. So go and look at the current trends and the best practices within the NGO sector, so that you can even have a meaningful conversation. And one of the things I'll tell you, I'm not a doctor, but I'm able to engage the doctors about heart diseases and defects, and especially to do with the children, because I've taken an interest to know that, and I read about it. And therefore, I don't have to necessarily, when I go to the doctors, we don't have to talk about Arsenal and Manchester United and Man City and Gor Mahia and AFC Leopard. There are other particular conversations that you can pick with other professionals. And that's why it's very, very important actually to be diverse and hang around with different people. You learn so much about what is the current trends. Have that particular conversations, and you look actually more authentic. So by the time you go for those particular conversations, then you've looked at the current trends just around the world. And then you get trusted, and people will be like, oh, this particular person has a voice, has credibility, can be trusted, can join our organization. So that's actually how you build your confidence. You realize one of the things that I do is also to gain skills even from Rotary, volunteering, going for those particular community service, joining Toastmasters International, which actually helps you in terms of shaping your communication skills, making you to be confident as you talk to people. Go to these particular spaces. They will help you so much in gaining the practical example, and also to make you stay engaged. For instance, in Rotary, you find everybody there, people from different sectors. When you go to Toastmasters, it's the same. And that actually makes you to be introduced to different people in different organizations. I'll go a little bit faster because of time. And then be patient and persistent. Don't just join and say, I want to be a manager now. I want to be the director now. Build a career in the NGO world may take a little bit of time and effort, but be patient and be persistent. And one of the things that I always say, if you are patient, if you are persistent, if you are always very, very persistent, you'll actually get it. But when you are consistent, you'll keep it. The most important thing is to be persistent. You get it, but stay in touch and be consistent, and then you'll keep it going forward. And then finally, showcase your impact. NGOs are so much results oriented, and always they will value individuals who can demonstrate their impact. Be resource oriented. So even as you have your conversations, they need to be meaningful. You need to showcase data, for instance. You need to showcase these are the trends, and that actually can earn you a seat at the table. As I'm concluding, I'm just conscious of the time. And this is actually not limited. If you want to know where the career sites are, there's a list there. There's a list, and actually there are more. There are more. I've actually given a list there, and I'll be able to share this actually with Esther. Look for this. For those people, particular people who are interested, go to these particular career sites. Either they'll actually ask you to actually upload your CV or your profile. Go to LinkedIn, for instance, search for these particular jobs. They're there, volunteering opportunities. The volunteering even opportunities actually are in the career sites. Go to the NGOs, look for these particular NGOs. They actually have jobs there, and they're always on rolling basis. And some of them are not advertised to not see them. So go and look at those particular ones. Sometimes they actually ask you to upload your CV or your profile, and then actually they can connect you. So always go and do your research. Go look for these particular career sites. Go look for this particular organization. Share as much information about yourself and look at those particular careers. And one thing that I just want to say as I'm concluding is that don't always be stuck in the same profession. You may be in finance, and perhaps you may look at the direction of something else. It may be in grant writing. It may be on project management, because maybe there are more opportunities in project management, and you can still use your finance skills and your finance background to advance what you want to pursue in future. So don't just be stuck in a particular area, because the NGOs are a bit different. They may not have the traditional roles, but you can move from point A to, you can actually have a shift. And that's why job shadowing is very important. Networking is very important. And then aligning with the area of passion can help you to learn new skills and actually what is needed in that particular sector. For instance, if it's something to do with emergencies, look at something which is related to emergencies. Learn it so that you're also ready for the next big thing. I just want to conclude there so that I can actually open it up because of time. Over to you, Esther.
Thank you, Paul. I request maybe you stop sharing. But I see a lot of questions coming in, a lot of conversations coming in. Let me just go there so that yes, I'll just run through them. Then maybe you can answer what you can. Someone is asking, okay, Sarah, the link changes for each meeting on Wednesdays. We keep sharing that. Simon Frank, I had mentioned your name actually to Paul from Tanzania. Thank you for joining. Welcome, sir. Impressive. Wow, from a teacher to all that has been read. Kudos on your journey. It's a pleasure to be here. Actually, I'm a student from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, taking Bachelor of Science in Development Studies. That person is looking for attachment. I know we have a lot of HRs in the room. Please always give an opportunity to these young people. I remember, Paul, recently, I think at the HR coffee, there's a lady that walked to me after the conversation and she said, I want to volunteer. And in faith, I told her, just stand behind me. You will get a job before you leave this room. And I'm telling you, she had a job before she left the conversation, the place there. So it's good to front yourself, as Paul said. Rosemary says there's something about teachers. They are go-getters. Paul, I'm happy to hear and learn more from you. Let's engage. What advice would you give to someone, Paul, who was in the NGO earlier in their career life, then moved to corporate and now stuck as they want to go back to the NGO world?
Oh, thank you so much. And that's a good question. Today I had breakfast with somebody who was in the NGO world and went to the world of academics, and she's looking forward to come back to the NGO world. So just a couple of things. One is that start those particular connections. Start looking for where these seminars are. And I think the good thing about it, whenever I look at WhatsApp, there are so many forums that actually you can join. The more you attend these particular forums, and especially some of them related to NGO, and even sometimes not related to the NGO sector, you are likely to find your next influencer. So attend the seminars. And then the other thing that I would like to let you know is that go to the internet, search for these particular sectors, search for these particular NGOs. You'll be connected for that. And then the other thing is that as you want to go back to the NGO world, start looking at those particular skills that that particular NGO sector needs, and then start actually going for online classes so that also you are ready going for that.
So let me ask you, Paul, maybe for the sake of everyone on the call, do you have any groups or WhatsApp groups where at least the NGO world meets so that people can have a platform? Or do you have a platform? If you do, maybe we can share that on the chat. It will help, especially for those that want to join those forums and those ones that want to know when there are conversations and maybe conferences, because sometimes we don't know where to find those conferences. We actually just see conferences happened for NGOs, Paul. That's what happens. So if you have, please share, and let's help someone who is looking for those conversations. Someone says, great conversations. As a journalist who reports highly on issues covered by NGOs, I would love to make the switch. What moves can I strategically make to get there? That's a journalist who reports. You are well positioned, Yvonne. Very well positioned. Paul, just speak to that.
I think just I missed the question, in case you could rephrase.
Yeah. Yvonne says she is a journalist who reports highly on issues covered by NGOs, and she would love to make the switch. What moves can she make to strategically make to get there?
Fantastic. I think that's a key area. There's so much about communication in the NGO sector. Communication, issues to do with engagement, and because we report so much of it, especially on the impact. So one of the advice that I would like to give is that a key shift maybe from journalism, because the good thing about journalism, like some of the people working in the NGO have been former journalists, but the shift that they've been having is to go to engagement. Some of the roles that you see as engagement manager, engagement directors, engagement officers, or communications manager, most of them actually have been journalists. So you can actually having a shift into that. And one of the areas that you can be thinking about is about areas of stakeholder engagement, and also how you can also communicate with the impact. Because in the NGO sector, it's about reporting data and also reporting impact. So I think that will be one of the things that I like to advise you. And then in that particular case, in that particular shift, then look at the online conversations about engagement, about impact, and even start now communicating now with the NGOs and looking for the trends in the NGOs who actually needs communicators. And in all the NGOs nowadays, they'll need people who actually can help them in terms of communicating their agenda.
Thank you, Paul. That makes me come to some conclusion. I think we need to have a conversation again with you on reporting data and impact. We need to equip people, because I have seen a lot of jobs that are advertised will ask you on data, impact, and maybe research and all that. And sometimes that's usually the challenge. We can do everything else, but when it comes to data, there's a big challenge. And I think we need to have a conversation. I see another one here. I've been a teacher and administrator for NGO-based schools. I have tried getting into other sectors of the NGO world to no avail. I have made thousands of applications, but still haven't gotten anything. How can one get into volunteership to set me in the place? Paul, this is the same thing I'm saying. Applying for NGOs. What's happening? Speak to this one. Yeah.
I think I think a couple of things, two things that I just want to mention is that how do you also position yourself? How is your CV looking like? How is your profile looking like? Are you speaking to the language of the business? Are you speaking to the language of the NGO? Is, for instance, the NGO is talking about, do you have skills in impact? Do you have skills in communication? Do you have skills and interest in stakeholder management? Do you have skills in data? Is your actually profile and CV packaged to align to that particular area? And one of the things that I'd like to advise you today is about the roles are always packaged to the people who are able to package themselves properly. So actually, normally, career, therefore, is your responsibility. And the good news about it is that we have even people in this particular room. There are people in LinkedIn. There are people around the country who can actually help you, to position your CV, to position your application. And you realize there's somebody actually said who has written so many applications, they have never landed an interview. Please go and look at how you do your CV. Look at how you do your profile. Look at where you even actually go in terms of your connections. Who do you meet? In most cases nowadays, networking is so critical. In fact, there are certain roles which are not even advertised. You walk in that, we are looking for someone, and then, but first of all, maybe we are looking for a volunteer. So package yourself on your career, look at your profile, even how it looks on the LinkedIn. One of the things which happen is that once you send your application, immediately the recruiter will go to your LinkedIn page and look at how it's actually positioned. That's and remember, these particular recruiters get thousands of applications. So look out for someone who can help you to package your CV and profile. That's quite important. And then finally, very important to look at, what do you write on the social media?
True.
What do you write there? Because that can earn you or not earn you an interview, looking at, for instance, the contradictions that you're having in terms of your branding.
Wow, that's a powerful one, especially the last one, Paul. And being in HR, people also forget that we do background checks on your social media, because you come to the interview and is a different person in the interview until we get into your social media, and the content there does not agree with the values of the organization that you want to join. Now, the questions are so many. I don't know. I think you'll allow me to just go through them, because I see most of them as CVs. I've volunteered as a program person for almost 5 years. It's been almost impossible to get a stable job in the same. Though while in the space, I found my passion in M&E. Any leads on internship? That one is looking for internship. I'm glad to be part of this conversation. Mine is to understand the mystery behind recruitments in the NGO world. Paul, you people have mumetutesa. I think that's what I need to say. Then Hannah has given a link there. Someone can check. Disaster Ready is resourceful with courses. I have worked on contract basis in the field of monitoring and evaluation for 1 year and 2 months, currently looking for a permanent place. Paul, hapa uko na watu. I think Greenpeace, Paul, you have volunteers here. What does one need to know when thinking of shifting from mainstream media to the corporate or NGO world? What are the general causes for NGO world? Maybe you can handle those ones. I think they're just around positioning again. The same thing with positioning. I don't know, maybe you will need to take us through a session on how to position ourselves. Yes. What else? Presentation. The presentation will be, we actually live on our YouTube, Conversations with Esther Katiba. So you will get this on the YouTube, follow us, and on YouTube. All our conversations are uploaded on YouTube. And today we have decided to go live because of the numbers. So you will get all this on the YouTube. What would you advise someone who has just gotten a HR job in the NGO world? I think you need to speak to this one, Paul, because you are HR in the NGO world. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I think let me start with the last one. I think for anyone who is in HR and is in the NGO world or development sector, the good news is that we formed an association of all the HR professionals who are working in the NGO world for sharing knowledge, for strengthening their capabilities and capacities, for even people to share opportunities within the development sector. So what happens is that if you are a HR person in the NGO sector, you can get in touch with me. I'll be able to introduce you to the person who will get in touch with you in terms of how to register, and then you join us. And once you join us, then the rest will be history. We'll be able to induct you. We'll also help you to introduce to the rest of the people. And then from that now, you'll see the advantages. Currently, we are partnering with some of the key institutions like Strathmore Business School, and also with other institutions like the Institute of Human Resource Management. So actually, you'll have bigger space on the people that we'll be interacting with. And then with that now, as a HR professional, also you'll be able to help the rest of the community and even your friends to look for these particular opportunities, because we'll share them in our subgroups.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
I will run through some others again. What is it about NGOs internship asking for 5 years or more experience, Paul? People ask 5 years for internship. You will answer that. You will tell us. Today, you're the one to answer all the questions. You're the chair of the INGO. So there's another one. Tony here says, good evening from Nigeria. Nice to be here. Brilliant presentation from Paul. Thank you, Tony. Looking to volunteer in NGO space. I have a passion on boys mentorship. Where can I volunteer? That's a good question, John. I think Paul will grab you right after this. Paul, speak to that about the 5 years and all that. Yes.
I think that's quite surprising. I think one of the things I'd like to let you know is that please also don't accept yourself to be misused.
True.
There's always a limit in terms of volunteering, unless that's actually your hobby. And as part and parcel of owning your own career, please step back and ask yourself, really, do I want to work for this particular NGO as a volunteer where I'm working? Remember, there's a difference between working and volunteering. When you volunteer is because also you want to learn, and in future, you want to land a position. So keep looking for another, because by 5 years, I think that's too long. That's too long. That's not good. It's not acceptable. And that's why one of the things that I said in terms of position yourself, seek out for mentoring. People will help you to position yourself. There is nobody who has ever made it without mentoring.
Yeah.
So being there for 5 years is not good. And I think one of the things you need to get a mentor or an accountability partner to say, I've been doing this. I'm seeking out for a shift. And then the other thing is that for that particular 5 years, I think also you need to ask yourself is that I am in the NGO sector. They deal with grant writing. They deal with project management. They deal with policies. What have you done for yourself to position yourself also for the next role going forward? For instance, you can see myself, one of the things that I'm doing now, because I've already identified an area, is mediation and conflict resolution. I'm so deliberate and intentional of what I want to do next.
Wow. Wow, that's good. Our link is there, Conversations with Esther on YouTube. So you can follow that. Eve Mutio, thank you for joining. A good friend of mine. Eve says, trust is one of the best currency. Thank you, that you can leverage. This is great conversation, Esther and Paul. Thank you, Eve, for making time. Eve is a big brand as well. Share WhatsApp groups with us that has these connections, please, Paul. I don't know whether you shared. I've not been there throughout the sessions, but it's been groundbreaking meeting for me. What of someone who is in the NGO world, has been applying for new opportunities, but isn't getting interviews? What's the advice? I think Paul has spoken to that. Thanks, Paul and Esther. Why does it seem challenging for interns to transition to international development cooperation, especially after internship? Personally, I'm so much interested in IDC and the SDGs and looking for an opportunity for 6 months now. Paul, you want to speak to that as I check through the others?
Yeah, I think also in terms of, I think that's more about a shift, eh? You know, how do you transition from internship to employment? Just a couple of things. One is, during your internship program, who are you meeting? Are you meeting different heads of department, or are you stuck in your own department? Remember, a lot of conversations happen behind the scenes. Go beyond Call of Duty. Do different things. You'll be noticed. If you keep on doing the same thing, the same routine, without adding value, without confidently voicing your areas, it will be very difficult for you to be noticed. You need to get noticed by especially the right kind of people in that particular organization. If not that particular organization, you don't have to stick around. Participate, because the good thing about it, for instance, in case you're in the NGO sector, you'll be working with partners. They'll be working with other NGOs. It doesn't mean that because you're an intern there, therefore you have to stick around there.
Sure.
Always partner with different people. And when you go for meetings, please talk. Please talk when you go for meeting. Even if you have to pray, give a vote of thanks, ask a question, don't leave that room without no one noticing you. And one of the biggest problems, especially with internship, is that they expect things to be done and they're not doing something about themselves. And that's why Toastmasters, Rotary, all those things will actually shape you. They'll package you. Seek for mentoring. Go for meetings and talk. Ask questions. Talk to the heads of departments. They'll notice you. Positions are not given. Some of them are grabbed. And therefore, position yourself. Sharpen your skills. Sharpen your confidence. And dare to be different. Be unique.
Wow. Wow. Now it's already 8:05. This will not end, Paul. Thank you, Paul. I'm in finance with a background in budgeting and analysis, worked in NGO, and I'm looking to volunteer for grant writing. Reach out to Paul. Hopefully, Paul, I will throw people to you. And I know we have very many other people on the call. I don't know whether Terry Shundu is here, and Jackie and many others on, in the NGO. Please pick the conversations here. Just chat there and mentor some of these people. I think it's important. They can't all go to Paul, unless, Paul, you're going to start an NGO, which is okay. You could start that. Your role in INGO should actually open a platform where you mentor people to transition them and help them even position themselves. And I think that's something you can do. I've applied for over 90 jobs in the NGO market. Wow. And landed no interview. Wow, what could be the problem? I think Paul has spoken to that. I would like to understand, how does non-governmental organizations identify communities or individuals to work with? How have they worked to build trust? And yeah, I think that's a good question, Paul. I know we may not answer all of them, but how do the NGOs identify communities and individuals to work with?
Oh, thanks. So remember, one of the things that I mentioned is that NGOs always identify a particular cause, or they have a particular mission. They are driven by missions. They are driven by the vision of why they actually set up. And then the second thing is that they translate this particular mission and vision into realities. Like, for instance, to identify which particular communities. For instance, if it's something to do with health in a particular country, they'll start mapping out the partners and the communities that they work with. Not all NGOs work directly with the communities. They also work through partners. Some of the organizations I work with, we don't sometimes work directly with the communities, but also we work with the partners. So that's actually how it's done. So there's a mapping kind of a process and identification of the communities based especially on the sector, which is there. And then the next thing is about identifying who are the key stakeholders that we can be working with. Some of them are opinion leaders. Some of them are community leaders. And especially nowadays, because of sustainability, NGOs are actually working more with the community leaders, because at the end of it all, also you may want to have a closure of a particular project or a particular area, and you want to leave it to the community. If it's something to do with water project, for instance, or environmental project, you may also want to have a closure and sustainability and hand over to the communities. So a lot of advocacy, awareness, and education works around those particular community leaders. And that's why there's so many seminars and conferences, because at the end of the day, these actually projects are handed over to the communities. And then perhaps you start a new one going forward. So that's actually what happens in the NGO sector. And therefore, one of the things I would like to perhaps just advise is, remember when I was talking about positioning yourself, there's also the issue about research. It's very important to look at some of those particular reports, which are always available for most of the NGOs. Their annual reports, looking at who are the key stakeholders, who are the communities they work with, even what kind of individuals they're looking for. You'll be surprised that you'll even get an information as you're doing your application on what kind of individuals and partners they're looking for. And this could be another opportunity also that people can seize.
So I see, thank you. Someone here asked about CVs, and I see Karim Injiru, thank you. She posted, anyone requiring assistance with reviewing their CVs, you can reach out to Karim Injiru. I think it's important that we provide instant solutions. So I'm seeing some people reaching out, just check that out on the chat. How can I determine appropriate? Wow, Paul, will this ever finish? Will we ever finish this? Because the questions are around the courses to take, how to position, what courses, take a course in this. I think we will never finish on this one. Maybe, Paul, we definitely will need to have another conversation with you on this one. There are so many questions, but I know, oh yeah, we need another session, a follow-up one, of course. But I think maybe even what we need is connections on how to position. Number one, CVs, and prepare people for interviews. I have seen people with very good CVs, Paul, and the best of skills, but when it gets to an interview for NGOs especially, and I think it just goes back to what you were saying, do your research, prepare yourself, understand the organization that you're interviewing for, so that when it gets to the interview, you have the knowledge and the skills that are required. It's 8:10, guys. We would love to do this a whole day. I think we might need Paul. Paul, I want you to commit yourself that you will come back and answer so many of these questions. Connections for shortlisting and interviews. Paul did not answer about the WhatsApp group. Paul, please answer this question about the WhatsApp group for people who want to join NGO. I don't want to go with a debt.
Yes, we may not have maybe a specific WhatsApp group for NGOs. That could be something perhaps I could do a little bit of research on. I think what is existing is mostly the WhatsApp group and forum for the HR professionals who are in the NGO sector. So maybe I could do a little bit of research to see whether we have existing WhatsApp group for people who may want to join that. I think that could be something that I may want to do a little bit of thinking on that.
Good. And I want to thank everyone that has joined us. Again, I want to let you know what Conversations with Esther does. We are a professional media platform, and that's why we allow different professionals to come on our platform, because you need to meet people in marketing, you need to meet people in sales, you need to meet people in the NGO world. So for us, we host every professional. We are not biased. We bring in HR professionals. We speak to matters affecting you in the workplace. We make sure that your mental wellness and wholeness is okay. So you feel free to follow us on our Conversations with Esther Katiba on YouTube, LinkedIn, Esther Katiba, Conversations with Esther on Instagram. And before you leave, we have this upcoming event, amazing event for women. So we have, as Conversations with Esther, following our different sessions, we have discovered that, and I know many people will say that I know I've had people meet me on the street and say, no, you're doing our Nadada to Funguke session and you've forgotten the men. Paul, I know you will say that, and you told me that the other day. For the men will come. It will come, but we are having an amazing, amazing event upcoming on July 1st. July 1st, 2023, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the YMCA grounds, State House Road. The charges are only 3,000, only from morning to evening. We will give you breakfast, we will give you lunch, we'll give you your 4 o'clock tea before you leave. We will make sure that you enjoy. We have team building activities. We have Chiromo on site. We will make sure you, I know women have also told me they want a bouncing castle to let go. Paul, what do you have to say about that? We women are going to have fun. We want to offload and pack and just make sure we are having fun as women. So we have the One Nadada to Funguke event, 1st of July. Please, the QR code is there. I'll give you time as ladies to scan and join the group. The group, I think, is already heading to 300 members right now. So karibu sana, that is where we are. Let me leave it at that so that you can scan that. But thank you, and see you at YMCA grounds, women. I'm also encouraging Paul.
Yeah.
Paul, I am encouraging the men in the room to sponsor somebody. Sponsor your sister, sponsor your spouses,
good.
sponsor your colleagues that need to come and unpack, offload, and let us be girls. And that's what we are saying in the group. Let us be girls, enjoying ourselves and having fun and letting it out. So Paul, can I fix you? I need you to sponsor some people. How many people are you going to sponsor for this event?
At least I can sponsor one so far.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah. So we will look for a needy person, and I'll be very accountable for that, unless you have somebody. But we want to look for someone that is very needy, a case that we can bring and really cover that. But women, we meet at the Wanadada to Funguke conversations with Esther, a whole day of fun. Team building. We'll play football this time around, Paul. We will play some other games. We will have bouncing castle. Not a joke. We will have bouncing castle and we will be girls all the way. So see you at the Wanadada to Funguke. Thank you everybody for attending this. And thank you, Paul. We appreciate your time. We don't take this for granted. We appreciate your time. You are a professional that is very busy. We sincerely appreciate your time and your skills. Continue to share with us. And please, Paul, you want to give your final remarks?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I just want to tell you also, life is about friendships. Life is about investing in relationship over time. So honestly, the most important thing that I would like to let you know is that please make use of your connection. If you see like whatever is going to be happening on the 1st of July, please go there. Please go there. Get somebody who can even help you. If you find a particular group online or in person, please always go for these particular events. They'll lead you to the next thing. You'll learn something different. It's such an honor actually being here today to connect with all of you. I always learn from somebody. I always learn from a group of people because I always feel like being I always remain teachable in all the situations. So a sincere thank you to all of you. I'm sure this is going to be happening again. There'll be other follow-up sessions that we can be organizing with Esther. And I wish all of you a wonderful night.
Thank you, Paul. For the HR professionals in the room, we are having a conversation with the IHRM and we are closing on it. You will be enjoying 2 CPD points for the event. So karibu sana, and thank you for attending the conversations with Esther. Have a good night and God bless you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.